In order to see who is currently in Real Madrid's lineup, we have Rodrigo, Militao, Vinicius Jr., and soon Endrick. They are all Brazilian players for Real Madrid and are considered key elements for the club's future. But what about Argentine players? Not a single one last year in 2023, nor the year before in 2022, or even back in 2021 and 2020. Real Madrid hasn't signed any Argentine players for many years, despite the fact that these players are the reigning champions of Copa America and, of course, the World Cup. This summer, they haven't acquired any famous players from Argentina, whether young or experienced, and this marks the 14th year without such signings. In 2010, Angel Di Maria arrived at Santiago Bernabéu from Benfica, and that was the last Argentine transfer for the club. Since Di Maria's move to Manchester United in 2014, Real Madrid hasn't brought in any other well-known Argentine players. However, when we talk about Argentine players at Real Madrid, there's no shortage of history. Alfredo Di Stefano is an eternal icon at the club. He's often regarded as the best player in the world before the rise of Pelé and Maradona. When he arrived in Europe in 1953, he won 5 consecutive European Cups with Real Madrid, solidifying his legendary status. But who else do we remember? Gabriel Heinze, Gonzalo Higuain, Fernando Gago, Walter Samuel, Esteban Cambiaso, and Santiago Solari, to name a few. Jorge Valdano is also a familiar figure at Real, although he spent more time working at Valdebebas than on the field. Throughout its history, Real Madrid has been a club where Argentine players have built their careers. If you look at the chart of foreign players who have played for Real Madrid, the Argentine group ranks third, behind French and Brazilian players. However, in recent years, that trend has almost disappeared from Real's radar. It doesn't mean they haven't considered these players. In 2018, Real Madrid was close to signing midfielder Ezequiel Palacios from River Plate, but ultimately decided not to proceed with the contract. Players like Mauro Icardi and Paulo Dybala were also rumored to join Los Blancos in previous seasons, but it never materialized. In the case of Ezequiel Palacios, many sources confirmed that an agreement was imminent, and the Argentine player was ready to become part of Real Madrid. However, the final step of the negotiation fell through due to an injury. It was undoubtedly a bitter pill for Palacios, who had dreams of a promising career. When asked why his move to Real Madrid failed, Palacios told Marca, "The Real Madrid representatives came to sign me, but in the end, it didn't happen due to an injury." Palacios later played in River Plate's youth teams before joining Bayer Leverkusen in January 2020, where he became a key player under Xabi Alonso. The 24-year-old midfielder is also a member of the Argentina national team, which won the FIFA World Cup in 2022. Although he played a minor role in the tournament, Palacios has a bright future ahead. Returning to the story of Real Madrid, the main reason why the club has been less focused on Argentine players in recent years is that they have found what they need within the Brazilian player group. Real Madrid indeed values Brazilian players more than Argentinian ones, although this trend may change in the near future. On a personal note, after the Neymar transfer to Barcelona, Florentino Perez was determined to upgrade the club's scouting system in Brazil. While the exact investment amount remains unclear, Sport magazine once described that Perez's Real Madrid would not forgive Barcelona for their success with Brazilian players. Therefore, they took action. However, it's not just Real Madrid. Barcelona has followed a similar trend. You'll notice that these two clubs engage in fierce competition and have similar recruitment strategies in various markets. Consequently, they tend to neglect certain markets, including the Argentine player pool. Lionel Messi was the last Argentine player at Barcelona in recent years. Although Sergio Aguero doesn't fit this list, Messi, having developed through La Masia, was the closest Argentine player brought to Barcelona. Javier Mascherano, who left Camp Nou for China in January 2018, also deserves mention. Even Barcelona's history is filled with names from Argentina, but their recent youth recruitment trend aligns with Real Madrid's. Both clubs have moved away from this market. Additionally, there's another factor to consider in La Liga. Each club is allowed 5 non-EU players, with only 3 non-EU players permitted in each match. The term non-EU refers to players from outside the European Union. These players can acquire EU citizenship if they meet specific criteria related to ancestry, residency, or naturalization. For instance, the Brazilian trio of Vinicius Jr., Militao, and Rodrigo at Real Madrid were granted Spanish citizenship in 2022. This means they are no longer required to register as non-EU players. Going back a bit further, when Luis Suarez joined Barcelona, the Uruguayan forward applied for Italian citizenship through his wife, Sofia Balbi, in 2014. Similarly, non-EU players can gain Spanish citizenship after playing in Spain for 5 years, as seen with Marcelo. Consequently, clubs cannot innocently seek out South American players. So, even if you have quality Brazilian and Uruguayan players, there's no room for additional non-EU South American signings. However, the trend in evaluating Real Madrid players is expected to change somewhat in the future as Argentine players continue to shine with their consecutive successes. This seems to be a common trend currently, as major English Premier League clubs have started signing Argentine players. For instance, Mac Allister joined Liverpool, Enzo Fernandez is now at Chelsea, and Manchester United secured Lisandro Martinez. Hence, it's no surprise that Real Madrid is monitoring the possibility of signing Julian Alvarez from Manchester City. However, this presents a challenge for them because Alvarez is earmarked by the citizens to become their next icon. Interestingly, if circumstances had unfolded differently, Alvarez could have been a Real Madrid player for over a decade. The director of Deportivo Octalaya in Argentina once shared, "Ramon Martinez, Real Madrid sporting director, came to Argentina and told me that if I saw any outstanding young players, I should let him know. So, I told him about Julian. They invited us to a tournament in Girona, Spain. Julian played for Real's youth team and truly stood out. Madrid was interested and wanted to sign the young lad. However, according to FIFA's new regulations at the time, Julian couldn't sign a contract at his age. He was only 11 years old and he needed to be 16. Can you imagine? He would have to wait a very long time. Too long. Nevertheless, in the present, Real Madrid does have a promising Argentine talent. Nico Paz fits that description. He joined Los Blancos at the age of 18 in 2016. This young midfielder is considered a gem and has been shining for Castilla, Real Madrid's reserve team. Toni Kroos also shared his impressions after training with Nico. The young player who impressed me the most is Nico Paz. Despite being a kid, he trains with us every day because he's very talented. Considering that Toni Kroos rarely gives praise lightly, it's worth noting that Nico Paz primarily plays as an attacking midfielder, but can also perform well in central midfield and on the wings. In the near future, he could become a familiar name among Real Madrid fans. Nico has already left a considerable impression during the club's summer tour in 2023. As for why Real Madrid hasn't used Argentine players, the answer is relatively straightforward. In recent years, they didn't prioritize this market, especially when Brazilian players made a stronger impact in Europe. However, times are changing, and Argentina's talented group of players may find their way back into Real Madrid or Barcelona lineups in the near future, something that wouldn't be too surprising.